These are my biggest tips for how I went from a C in year 12 to an A-star in my real A-level in English literature. Number one is knowing the books inside and out, even if you haven't read them. I knew the plots, the characters, the little things that happened so well. I could blurt the whole plot of Othello all the time. I could tell you when something happens, what happens right before it, what happens right after it, what act, what scene, everything that happens in chronological order, even to the small little details of the book that you might not think are necessary. I did this through either literally like reading and acting a scene from Othello, blurting it, doing the next act and scene, blurting it, and then trying to go back and do the first one and the second one together without looking. I did this also by, which I'll explain more in the next tip, but about I would combine the plots with my quote learning. When I was learning quotes, I was trying to learn them within their context. Where did they come from and whereabouts, to try and learn more about the plot and try and embed things about the plot into my analysis and quotes learning. And then finally just reading summaries or the books or the plays or the poems over and over again as many times throughout the year and just really familiarising myself with their stories. So even talking about it with my friend, going through what happened again and again, they can remind me of things I forgot, I can remind them of things they forgot, and that kind of reminder. So number two is quote learning. As I mentioned in the previous tip, I would learn my quotes, but I'd try and get all my other revision kind of into these quotes. So when learning a quote, I'd make sure that on my flashcard I have who said it, who to, and the context. So where were they? What happened right before, what happened right after, and a literal explanation of what these quotes mean or just what's happening in the quote. It's very easy to get caught up in high level analysis, high level explanation for quotes, all of that. I really tried to get the simplicity of them and what was going on in those quotes, so I could not only tell you the quote but tell you exactly where it comes from, why it comes from that. And then this kind of leads on to my last point in a moment, but also in those quotes I was really trying to get the term. Is it a metaphor? Is it a simile? Is it symbolic of something? Does it mean something? Is it a hyperbole? Literally any kind of quote, and if I didn't know, I'd ask my teacher and then add it to my flashcard. So at this point, not only do I know the plots and the whole plays and books back to front, I also know so many quotes. I know exactly who said them. I know everything about the quote, of where it is in the book, and I can also give you a literary term to do with that quote and explain how the literary term links to it. Guys, it's all very oversimplified. It's hard. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard, and I will go way more into depth about how to do these things in later videos, but it's very simple when you break it down in terms of what you actually need to know. My last tip is knowing those AOs so well. Guys, I had two different teachers, one in year 12, one in year 13. And in year 12, I was told not to look at the assessment objectives. And don't get me wrong, stressing over them isn't always needed. In year 13, they were pushed onto me a bit more, but my teacher still told me not to worry about them too much. Guys, I thought in my head, I really feel like I need to worry about these. I went home and I embedded these in my revision so thoroughly. I understood the assessment objectives like the back of my hand. And this is when I started to see my grade improve. Knowing, I did AQA, knowing exactly what AO1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 meant and how to use them, and then being able to look at essays, which is within my third point as well, is exemplar essays or other people's essays, being able to look at those essays and literally highlight them different colours to do with where the assessment objectives are, not only see how they've used the assessment objectives, but how much of the assessment objectives are being used in each essay. That is when the grades started to go into the A category, and in the real A level, I am convinced this is what pushed my grade to a high A star. When I was practicing writing, or when I was learning my quotes, or when I was going through things, or when me and my friends were talking about what we'd write for a certain essay question, I was making sure I was like, okay, this would be my AO1, this would be my AO2, this would be 3, 4, 5. When I got in the exam, I will show you guys, because I paid for to get my scripts back. I will show you guys in my plans, in my real A level, you can see where I've put AO1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 to make sure that it's in my essay. I hope that was helpful. I'm going to be making so many videos actually visually showing you my flashcards. I'm going to be giving out my flashcards and all my resources and stuff like that. This is kind of an overall 3-step thing to know if you're entering year 12 or year 13 to keep in your mind and try and incorporate now, because you will not regret it.